Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing great. I know it's really hard to believe, but we only have 2 weeks left. But we just closed our second unit with exam 2, and we're about to wrap up unit 3. So, again, we're making good progress. So well done. I know it is a lot, but you're doing great. So, keep going. So what we have coming up for this week, we have the last two chapters of Unit 3. So we have chapter 10 on magnetism and chapter 11 on light. And then, as you know, that means we're wrapping up Unit 3, and that means that the following week we will have exam 3. As usual, you have the information, you have the practice test, and the exam will open Monday through Friday of the following week. And because we're getting so close to the end, we're going to have exam 3. It's also when we're going to be covering the chapters of Unit 4 that you have listed here, right? So this will be quantum mechanics, special relativity, and nuclear and particle physics. So definitely a lot for 1 week. Um, but again, with conceptual physics, it's really about getting a sense of the main concepts for each chapter. I hope, it's enough to make you want to learn more. Because again, you could spend an entire semester learning about quantum mechanics and even more if this is something that you're interested in. So yes, so a lot more to learn, but hopefully enough that if it piques your interest, you can continue with your physics journey in future courses. All right, so for this week, we are looking at magnetism, and so I'm going to go over that with you, and then we're going to go over light, and that will be the end of our unit 3. 3 out of 4, so almost there, as mentioned before. So no surprises here. This is structured in very much the same way as all of our previous chapters. So I'm going to go over that very quickly. All right. But magnetism, again, is an important chapter. We're going to be learning about magnetic fields. We're going to be there's a very important magnetic field that keeps us safe, which is the magnetic field of the Earth. So understanding more about that. And also something very important called induction. So you may have heard that maybe in kitchens, because you have induction stoves. But there's also many applications of that, and it's really, really cool, I think. So, let's keep going. We have our pre-chapter check, which I'm going to skip over. Again, that's not mandatory. It's something that you can take a look at before you start. So this chapter you can see starts by looking at sources of magnetic fields. So that's essentially how you can create a magnetic field. So we're going to talk about magnets, but we're also going to talk about moving charges. Just like electric fields, it's really hard to see. You can't really see a magnetic field. But here, using um, iron and a magnet, it's a demo to show you the direction of a magnetic field, so you can kind of see it. Uh, as I just mentioned, an important one is the Earth's magnetic field, which essentially acts like a giant magnet. And another important one, so here looking at moving charges, so currents and how they create magnetic field as well with a little demo here. Um, Next, we're going to see magnetic force. So this is um, sort of the effect. So now, if you're looking at a particle, so we're going to be talking about charged particles. So it's using what we just learned from the previous chapter. Charged particle moving in a magnetic field. So again, it could be a magnetic field due to a magnet, due to a current, and that charged particle is going to experience a magnetic force. So that's what we're going to talk about here. Some important applications. So here an example is the motor, electric motor, with a little demo. Um, you know, okay. And finally, as I mentioned, induction or electromagnetic induction, if you want to be more precise, with a demo. Again, this is really cool because just with a moving magnet, you can create what we call an induced current. And there's many applications of that, in, like security, and here looking at smart traffic lights. All right. Um, so that's your lecture content for this chapter. Then you have your homework set, like with any other chapter, and then I'm gonna move to the discussion. For this discussion, we're going to use a simulation. So, at this point, you've done this so many times that I'm sure you are aware. I always ask to explore first, so it's up to you. And once you've, gotten used to how the simulation works, you're asked to pick a variable. So that can be and we'll take a look together in a second. But we'll have a charge. So you get to pick the sign of the charge. So that's something that you can vary, right? So we want to pick one thing that you're going to vary. So either the sign of the charge, the direction of, so B field stands for magnetic field. So into the page is going to show with a cross, and out of the page is going to be a little circle. That's explained in the lecture videos, but a cross would be the back of the arrow, and the circle, or sometimes is a dot, is the pointy part of the arrow, where the arrow would represent a vector. You can change the speed of your charge. You can change the strength of your magnetic field, and you can change the mass of the charge. So you get to pick one variable, vary it, and then share what you see. And as always, make sure to post, to discuss two other posts from others in the class. So I pulled up the simulation here. So when you click on it, this is what you're going to see. This is from the Physics Aviary. They have a lot of other great simulations. We've used some before. And so here you can start with begin, and this is what you get. So at this point, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on, but here you can see that we have a charge that is, so this is a negative sign, so negative charge. The magnetic field is into the page. You can see that here. So this is the area where you have the magnetic field. The magnitude of the charge is 1 E. So this stands for E is the charge of an electron. So the equivalent of a charge of an electron. So you can change that. We can show the grid or not, depending on what you prefer. That's up to you. So here, if I click here, I can change the sign of the charge. Here, I can change the the direction of the magnetic field. Here, if I click, I can change the value of the charge, so how much charge I'm going to have. And then we can change the speed. So the charge is gonna come out of here, and we can change how fast it's going to be traveling. We can change the strength of our magnetic field. So this is in millitesla. So where Tesla is a unit to measure the strength of a magnetic field. So again, I can change that. This is the mass. So again, this is the mass of the charge. So this is another unit of mass that we haven't really seen, but you can see you can have it vary. And the only thing we haven't, so elapsed time will start once we fire, essentially. So at this point, I've just picked random things and I can fire, and you can see that my charge left. So it leaves horizontally and it traveled up in a circle. All right. So it's a circular motion. You can reset, you can change a number of things. So I can make the field smaller. Try that and see. Right. So you want to pick one variable that you're going to change and describe what you see, how it affects the motion of the charge. So that's that for this discussion. All right, and next we have our chapter on light. So again, light has so many applications. Again, it's another one where we could spend so much more time, but we have so many things to talk about. So for the chapter on light, first we're going to talk about um, electromagnetic waves, because as it turns out, light is an electromagnetic wave. That's why light comes after our chapter on electricity and magnetism. And there is something called the electromagnetic spectrum that we will describe in the lecture videos or in the textbook. And when we usually refer to light is only the small part of that electromagnetic spectrum that we can see, so visible light. But that also includes things like X-rays, and gamma rays and so many. It's very broad, but we can only see a small part of it. And usually when we study light, we refer that to optics. So again, so this chapter covers so much. But we're going to study properties of light, things like reflection. So this would be off of the mirror, for example, refraction. That's when light travels through a medium. Some applications of that would be to build, make glasses or lenses. And we're going to talk about, other properties of light, things like polarization as well. So things that you're probably somewhat familiar with, but um, so and light is interesting because we can describe it in different ways. So you see here we have a video called geometric optics, where we can describe light as rays. And we can also describe it as a wave, and we can talk about interference and things like we've already talked about when we talked about waves before. And some applications would be optical instruments. So I mentioned glasses, but you could also build a telescope or a microscope using some of the knowledge that we're going to learn about in this chapter. All right, so let me go through here. And then for the content, so again, we are going to talk about electromagnetic waves. Everything that we learn here actually applies to the entire spectrum, even though most of the applications will be to visible light, because that's just easier, because that's something we can see. So speed of light and things like that do apply to all of those things, right? So infrared and X-rays and of those. Reflection, refraction, very important properties of light. Again, with so that usually falls into what we call geometric optics, polarization, and you know, there's so much more, as always. And then after that, you have your homework set, and for the discussion, we have you just post a picture for this one, right? So this one is quick. The only thing is to that you'll have to also post, respond to two other posts. But the idea is to find, something in your environment. So there's so many examples of, different applications of this chapter, but something that you find in your environment that, uh, you know, would be a good illustration of one of the properties of light that we talk about in this chapter. So you can then take a picture, or maybe you already have one, so you can pull a picture you have, and you can post it. And the idea is, so you don't have to say, so you don't want to actually explain what property of light you're trying to illustrate, because the goal is for others to try to guess. So I would ask you that you please follow the discussion in case people are trying to guess, so you can confirm whether or not they were correct. So post a picture of something that illustrate one property of light, and then try to guess what others are trying to illustrate. Usually on any given picture, there will be several properties of light, but usually it's obvious which one, people are trying to illustrate, but usually light is everywhere. So there will be multiple properties illustrated, but usually there's one main one that is obvious. So not necessarily obvious, but it should stand out. So that's it for this chapter, and then that's going to be the end of Unit 3, which means that after that we'll have the exam for Unit 3, you know, starting the following week. So again, good job. You're doing great. Just 2 more weeks left, and you're done. So you're so close. Well done. And as always, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.